Welcome to the Real Estate Espresso Podcast, your morning shot of what's new in the world of real estate investing. I'm your host, Victor Menashe. There is no playbook, no rule book on how to respond to a pandemic. As real estate investors, we all have projects at various phases in the pipeline. Projects that are completed, those that are in construction, those that are still under contract. The impact of the current global circumstance on each of these will be different. And it's clear that the scope of the economic impact is going to extend beyond a few months. Governments are only now starting to come to terms with this stark reality and setting more realistic expectations with the general public. For example, the City of Toronto told its residents to expect another 12 weeks of lockdown. At this stage, we're focusing on only two things. Number one, protecting our investors and ensuring our existing projects remain healthy. And number two, ensuring that our family remains safe and our household is well supplied for the long haul. For many of us, the focus has shifted to the basics of human living. That means making sure that you're keeping your family safe. Trips to the grocery store that in December were taken for granted now are a process involving risk and immediate detox as soon as you leave the store. Nearly nothing is as it was. We have responsibilities to our investors, to our stakeholders, to our employees, our partners, and our families. There are still those out there who believe this pandemic is just the flu and the global reaction is overblown. Let me put this in perspective for you. My son is a part owner in an aircraft, and one of his partners in that aircraft is a 23-year-old flight student. When the flight school put the on-site classes on hold, he went home to his family in Toronto. And while he was there, he went into a Best Buy store to buy a toaster. Well, that was his only outing. Today, he's in intensive care in a Toronto hospital on a ventilator. He's not a 90-year-old with multiple complicating health issues. He's a fit 23-year-old who has an airline pilot medical certificate renewed regularly. This hits pretty close to home, and frankly, anyone who's still thinking that this is overblown simply is in denial. Okay, enough about that. Your response to the current market conditions as a real estate investor will vary widely depending on your circumstance. If you're a landlord, you're concerned whether tenants are going to pay the rent on the first of the month. Many jurisdictions have put a moratorium on evictions, which creates the incentive, in many people's minds, that they no longer need to pay rent. Even some tenants who are receiving unemployment benefits may choose to capitalize on the moratorium on evictions and not pay their rent. Our vacation rental business in the Rocky Mountains is currently 100% vacant. Our lender has offered a 3-month mortgage payment holiday, and we've also brought additional capital into the business to further protect the business from possible collapse. At this stage, we have about 7 months of cash reserves. Now, that may not be enough, and we know we may have to do more to ultimately protect the business and our investors' capital. So far today, we're down about $6,000 in retail rent collections compared with last month, and we don't have a full report yet. We're completely sympathetic to the plight of businesses that have been forced to close due to the pandemic. The fact is, very few retail clients will be able to pay rent in the not-too-distant future. This will become a huge issue for commercial landlords in the coming months. Eventually, this will cascade and become a huge issue for commercial lenders. Banks are getting a bailout package, but many commercial buildings have non-bank lenders, including private lenders, insurance companies, and commercial mortgage-backed security lenders. In our office, we paid our rent this month, even though our revenues are down, and I expect we'll be able to continue to pay the rent for several more months, but not indefinitely. We're not working on any new deals. Existing deals that have not closed have been put on ice for the time being. Deal sponsors who have tried to close deals in the past couple of weeks have reported that lenders have pulled out in some cases, and in other cases, they've changed the terms of the deal, asked for substantial additional cash reserves. I'm routinely hearing about deals requiring the last-minute addition of 1 more year principal and interest payments and maintenance reserves to be escrowed with the lender. One investor I spoke with yesterday had a deal fall apart when the lender required an additional $750,000 in capital at the closing table. These stories are becoming routine. So if you have a closing coming up, now is the time to seek an extension from the other side. You can expect that there will be delays and that the delays will be extensive. These negotiations will require recognition by the parties that a third party that is not part of the transaction is actually the cause of the delay. And then there's the entire question of what valuations will look like when the market emerges from this pandemic on the other side. I expect that many more deals will get canceled or renegotiated. And for the time being, in our business, we're focusing on execution of projects, protecting our projects, and by extension, our investors, and of course, taking care of our families. As you think about that, have an awesome rest of your day. Go make some great things happen. I'll talk to you again tomorrow.